Make sure you check this out on YouTube, guys. It's Sight Fishing 101. You're going to learn a lot in this video.
Closing question. Tell me the best sight fishing story that you've got, because I've known you for a long time and I've heard some crazy ones. You hand lining a big one in at Toho, you know, and I know you've seen a lot of stuff. What's the best Bobby Lane sight fishing story you can tell me?
That's probably the best one, is that 10-pounder. I haven't told that story a lot, but I lost that tournament to Gerald Swindle. Had 31 the first day with an 11-11, caught it off the bed, and 32 the second day. Could not catch Swindle, but I pulled up on this bed, and the bed was only about the size of a Cracker Barrel pancake. I'm not kidding you. And I looked down, and there's a 10-pounder laying on it, and I flipped in there, and she looked like she was fixing to bite. This is first thing in the morning. I lifted up, pulled my bait out of the water. I always check, make sure my hook's right, make it sharp, the tip's not rolled, make sure my knot looks good, everything. I flipped it back in there. She storms down on the bait and bites it. And I mean, you could see her gills flare when she grabbed it. And I set the hook, and the line broke inside my reel. And the braid just laid, it was slick calm, and the braid laid right by the trolling motor. I literally reached down quietly, grabbed the line, and I wrapped it twice around my hand. And I'm looking at her from about here to my tire on my truck. She shook her head, and it pulled the braid out of my hand. I reached in, I had to lift the power poles. I eased the trolling motor up on one, got the braid in again. It was still laying in the water, wrapped it about 20 times on my hand, told my co-angler to get the net, and hand lined it in. The fish weighed 10 pounds, 6 ounces. So I love sight fishing stories. That one will be remembered forever. It was a great event. I thought it was going to be the winning fish, but you can't say you hand lined too many 10-pounders in, especially after she shook her head and took the braid out of my hand once.
Awesome story. How cut up was your hand?
Didn't care, and I'll do it again every day of the week. And that fish was hooked in the mouth. She had it swallowed. It took me so long, but that's what I'm saying. Stealthy means a lot. The power poles didn't scare her lifting it up. I literally had to reach down there the second time, but what an awesome deal.
I think I won a West Coast Bass Tournament in Lake Don Pedro, California. I found a fish on a bed on a stump way upriver, and I thought it was like a 5 or a 6, but I was like, I'm gonna run all the way up there, start on that fish, and I lined up, make a cast, a stump, and I was like, and it come up and jumped. I'm like, oh crap, that's not a 5-pounder. 11-4.
Nice.
So I won the tournament, big fish. So that was like, yeah, that was like, oh crap, in a good way.
I had one at the St. Johns River that I snuck up on, didn't know it was there. I saw it. It was almost a 10-pounder. I hooked it, and still to this day, I've caught a 13 and a couple 12s. And that one, it was 9 3/4, the hardest fighting bass I've ever caught. I'll never forget that thing. That video went viral. I didn't even know my guy was filming me. I was a marshal at a bass event, and I hooked that thing, and it was just complete chaos for 2 minutes. I couldn't stop it. I mean, it literally bent me over the back of the boat, and I thought it was just going to break my heart, break my line, break everything back there. Somehow I kept it hooked up and landed it, and it was almost 10. I think it was like 9:14 or 9:12. What a tank. What a tank. Trying to play her out, man. Boom. In the mouth.
Oh, oh my goodness.
Yes.
Way to go, dude.
Unbelievable, man. That's another 8-pounder,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's, I'm going to call that a 9.
We don't even have time to. We just need to. Catch on a limit. Dude, that's a toad.
My goodness.
So it only worked one time in a tournament, but it was pretty cool. I had a 2.5 pounder that I worked forever, and she'd nose down on it. I couldn't get her to bite no matter what. Him, her, not sure if it was a male or female. But one time she nosed down on it, and I took my wedding ring and just clicked on the rod blank, and she smoked it. And I've been doing that ever since because I know it's going to work again someday, but that was a pretty cool moment. Like, it made a difference. So for all you married guys out there, try clicking that wedding ring on that rod.
Beaver Lake, the Children's Miracle Network tournament. Now Beaver Lake's known for not having big fish. 4 and 5 pounder would be a big one. Saw the fish on the bed the day before, went for the fish that morning. Fished for the guy who'd never been fishing, but that was okay. 6 hours, caught it, 9 pounds 2 ounces. Won the tournament and big bass on Beaver Lake.
Well, that is an absolute giant on Beaver Lake.
Giant, 6 hours exactly.
Y'all only had one fish?
No, we fished for it. She wouldn't bite. We left and caught 4, I think, whatever the limit was. And I told that guy, I said, that's the biggest fish in the lake. What do you think? He said, go get it. Can you catch it? I said, it might take a while. And it did, and I caught her.
Biggest bass I ever caught, and it was at when Dean Rojas caught 45 pounds. That second day I had a 12-2 and I caught it off the bed. I seen it on the bed, was just trolling motoring through some hay grass fields, seen a big shiny bed down there. Turned the boat around, pitched in there, second throw, watched that big fish swim over there and just get it. 12-2.
Did you get big bass for that tournament?
I got big bass that day. The day before, I caught an 11-4 and was the number 5 fish of the day.
What did you catch that fish on?
Tube.
Tube.
A flipping stick and a tube.
What color?
It was a bluegill color.
Ah, that's different.
Yeah. It was, we used a lot of those colors like that back then. It's kind of a smoke with
Gold and blue.
and gold and purple, yeah.
I guess I'll just throw it back to when I was younger. We used to, like I said, we used to go around to those ponds a lot. And there's one pond in particular that there's a lot of 10+ pound fish in. And I pull up to the lake one day, and there's a lot of hydrilla in the lake. So you could see when they would come up and spawn, they'd make a trail through the hydrilla, and they'd make a circle bed right next to the bank. So you could be walking down the bank, and you could see the bed from 100 yards away. And I see it. I go up to the pond one day, and I see a bed up ahead of me. I walk up to it, and a fish swims off, and it looked like about an 8 pounder or so. And a lot of times when you spook them off, they'll go out that trail and they'll just sit right on the edge of the hydrilla. So I flip the bait out in front of that trail where it cuts off, and I pick up and it's swimming off, and I set the hook, and it was a 13-1, and it wasn't even the same fish that was on the bed. So it was, I don't know what that fish was doing, but like I said, I was trying to catch that 8 pounder I saw, and I flipped out there and caught a 13-1. So
is that your personal best?
That's my biggest bass ever.
That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
Pretty sweet.
Most memorable.
I got one. And I didn't catch him. That's what makes this story so bad. It was my first year, I think, on the FLW tour when we were at Lake Okeechobee, and I was sight fishing, obviously, and there was a bed, and I had a limit. I had a decent limit. I thought I probably needed one good one, another big one to make the top 10 cut, and fishing around, we had co-anglers back then, and I always tried to let my guys catch fish, and so I was watching this one bed, and there was a fish on there that wouldn't help me, and I was actually fishing for another one, and in a while I kept looking at the other bed, and finally I told my guy, I said, why don't you try to catch this one over here? It looks like it's about a 2 pounder or so, and I knew he wasn't going to help me, and so he did. He throws a bait up there, and I kind of look at it out of the corner of my eye, and when it hits the bottom, a 6 pounder comes out from the grass, and straight to it, and he catches him. And so it was, and I missed the cut, I think, in that one. That fish would have put me through, and it's just one of those things you got to learn. Like if you see one on the bed, especially in a grass lake, because those big fish could be sitting right there close and you don't see him. And I just didn't realize that. I thought if he wasn't sitting on that bed, then you're probably not going to have an opportunity to catch a big one. But sure enough, he threw in there and a 6-pounder came out and grabbed it. It was I learned a lesson that day for sure.
You know, real quick, I'll give you two. So one of them was literally last tournament, Major League Fishing event, heavy hitters. Literally spent the last 45 minutes on a 3-pounder, and I missed the cut by 2 3/4 pounds. The next day we were fishing for 100 grand, 2 different ways, for big bass and for the tournament. But one of the stories that I can say actually went my way was actually on Okeechobee. I caught 3 off of one bed, and 2 of them were over 7 pounds. One was a 9, one was a 7. By far the sickest thing I've ever done. And talk about really changing your tournament around.
It was an 1190 on Toledo Bend. I had a young kid with me from Utah on a guide trip, and he wanted to go to Toledo Bend and sight fish. And we were trolling down the bank, and I trolled through this area once already, had a lot of pollen on it, and I turned around to leave out of there, and I looked and I saw her eyeballs were like marbles. I said, dude, that's a good one right there. That's a big one. That's like an 8 or 9 pounder. And he just like went into panic mode and like started cutting and retying and like, you know, kind of wigging out. And I was like, well, it's the first fish of the day. So I powered down and made about 5 pitches and caught it. It was the most easiest sight fish I've ever caught. It was 1190 Toledo Bend. That was in April. So that was pretty cool.
I don't know how entertaining it was, but at the St. John's River and Bass Elite, we were all down there in Lake George, and I mean, I found some fish that were complete difference makers. You know, fish in the 4 to 8 pound range that I just spent tons and tons and tons of time on, and honestly never got them to fire. Every trick that I've ever thought of, everything that I could. And, you know, I had a limit at the time. All I needed was that bite, and it wasn't easy to find a big one. So the couple that I found that were the difference makers, you know, from maybe just getting paid to top 20 or even a top 12 cut, those fish, I actually sat on them and really tried to get them to bite. They just never bit. And I had one particular that just, I couldn't even make him leave. I mean, make her leave. And what I mean by that is I tried everything to aggravate it, but it wouldn't even leave. It wouldn't even come in a defensive posture towards my offerings. It just stayed there the whole time. After the event, I asked Shaw, I said, Shaw, do you have those issues where you see a fish and you work and work and work and work and you can't even get them to even show aggressive behavior towards it? And he said, some of them you're just never going to catch. And I you know, I kind of knew that, but I'd never seen one stand its ground so much and yet never even fire at any of my baits. And I just kept thinking, I'm just gonna wear it down over time, and really that's the fish I need. If he'll just bite, it'll make everything better.